Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cover One Roundup here live on the Cover One YouTube channel and subsequently wherever you watch your podcasts. We're starting out hot here. What did I just say? We're starting out hot. As Jason Ebb writes in chat, the boys, that's right. The boys are back in town to break down the Buffalo Bills. Nothing happened. To preview the Buffalo Bills' upcoming Week 1 matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's right. The NFL is back. Regular season football is back this Sunday. Next week, we get to review a game, but this week we have to preview one. And we're also going to preview the season in general. We're going to break down, go week by week, and predict whether the Buffalo Bills are going to win or lose. Just some pre-show discussions here. It looks like we only have one game difference, and I have them losing like 10. Rob, you only have 11, I think. But you know, we'll settle this out in the octagon for sure. Speaking of Rob, I am joined today, or I am Kyle Silagyi. I am joined this and every week by Rob Quinn. Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to find out why my lighting is off. So if you have anyone in the comments that's upset, I know Kyle's usually the one that really holds the show back. With his various mishaps with his glasses or his computer screen. But this week it's me. Got to keep it consistent. There has to be an error somewhere. And for me, it's the same lighting I always have. And it's just not doing its 1/11th tonight. So but other than that, I'm good.
Rob, I'm going to start you off with a we didn't have much pre-show time. We usually have like 15 minutes pre-show time, but I had some stuff come up today. So we only had about 4 minutes pre-show time. So I didn't get to clear this question with you. But I'm going to ask this question. Are you in favor of execution?
You know, I am. If the players don't execute, they got to be the one that are executed.
And they got to be executed.
It's kill or be killed. So
that was hilarious. That was real good. If you guys don't know what we're referencing, Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly quote of the century yesterday. I'm in favor of execution. Maybe all these players have to be executed. Hopefully we have no players who need to be executed on the Buffalo Bills. But before we get into that, this podcast and Cover One in general are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Rob, tell us a little bit about Underdog.
So we've partnered with Underdog Fantasy. It's an awesome new fantasy app. You could play player props, you could do best ball drafts, pick'ems, all types of cool things like that. Not only for the NFL, but they do MLB, golf, basketball, anything that's your cup of tea. You can play awesome, whether it's daily sports or season long stuff. And it's really cool. I'm in way too many drafts. It had me doing wild player parlays during the preseason. So I'm glad that we're partnered with them, and you could use code COVER1 to get $25 off a deposit of at least $10.
Again, that is promo code COVER1. So, as I said off the top of the show, we have a juicy Week 1 preview against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what they're playing. Week 1 preview, Pittsburgh Steelers preview coming up. Also, like I said, regular season record predictions. But before we get into that, it is everyone's favorite segment. It's the Roundup. A relatively short Roundup, I would say, this week. Not too much news. There was the 53-man roster, which came out last week. But I think everyone can't wait to get my weekly dose of Kyle's self-deprecating. Do I make self-deprecating comments? I didn't think I was funny enough to make self-deprecating comments, but so again, the 53-man roster came out last week, and we've covered this at length, ad nauseum on Cover One. Even that's an SAT phrase. We've covered it ad nauseum on Cover One. Everyone's takes have been out there, and for the most part, at least to me, there were very few surprises. Maybe Tyrell Dodson being on the roster. We discussed that. I had him on my 53, but I could have seen a scenario in which he was off the roster. But the big shocker, I think, to everyone was Jacob Hollister being left off the 53. The tight end who played with Josh Allen in college at Wyoming, signed in the offseason was it a 1-year deal only?
Mm-hmm.
But still, he was expected to be the second tight end, the backup tight end. I didn't think he was necessarily bad in the preseason. Like, he didn't really flash, but he never, I never thought his roster spot was in jeopardy. But he gets released, and it was, to me, a bit of a shock. I was in the same school of thought as everyone else, and I was like, oh, he's coming back tomorrow. He's waiting in the parking lot. He's one of like a few players on this roster currently that were, eligible to be a wait in the parking lot type guy, but he didn't wait in the parking lot. he went down to Duval, best fan base in the league, Rob. So what were your initial reactions to backup tight end Jacob Hollister getting released? And what did you think when he signed with the Jaguars?
Yeah, it's crazy that a player like Jacob Hollister is like the most controversial roster move that the Bills make this year. But we talked about this a little bit last week. Like we both thought that there was a chance that he would get released, but then re-signed. But Brandon Beane pretty much in his press conference was just like, it's a numbers thing and we couldn't keep him. So he's probably going to sign somewhere else. And he did. But I think when you keep all those defensive linemen and the extra linebacker and you're going heavy at other positions, you have to sacrifice somewhere. And that was tight end. But it was surprising that they opted to let Hollister go and keep Tommy Sweeney. I thought Hollister looked good in the preseason. He had some big catches. Sweeney, I didn't really see him do a lot, but it obviously shows that the team has confidence in Sweeney and where he's at and his development, especially after dealing with the COVID and the myocarditis and all that came from that. But it's just very interesting, one, that they opted to roll with Sweeney over Hollister, but two, that they're only keeping 2 tight ends at the position. So I thought that was really interesting. It'll be fun to see whether or not that bites them in the ass later on down the season, if there is an injury or not. But for right now, it's just on paper, it's a numbers thing. And I still like the roster where it's at now.
Oh yeah. I mean, my friend was trying to tell me last week, like cutting Jacob Hollister, that's a bad move. And I'm like, listen to yourself. Like, who cares? Who cares about Jacob Hollister? I liked Jacob Hollister, but I'm not heartbroken to see him gone. I am a bit more surprised that Tommy Sweeney did make the roster, though, because as we previewed or as we talked about last week on our 53-man roster projection, I don't think either of us had him on our 53. Mm-hmm. I said he was he was in my final 3 for the final roster spot, but I gave it to Tyrell Dodson. But hey, Tommy Sweeney, look, seems like a cool guy, but when I was with the Bills a couple of years ago, I had to write a feature story about him. The most interesting thing I could find about the guy is that he liked the Grateful Dead and he liked Rob Gronkowski. And so it's just like, again, not a journalist's dream, Tommy Sweeney. Now, he's become more interesting, become more of a fan favorite as we've gotten to know him a bit more. But for me, a week after drafting him, I was like, oh, geez. So I called him Tommy Bahama. I gave him a bit of a character. Yeah, so he's I want him to wear Hawaiian shirts. That's all I want from Tommy Sweeney. If he breaks out a Hawaiian shirt, I will say he's worth the roster spot. But it's an interesting move. Nevertheless, again, we're talking about the second string tight end here. So I think we should move on.
Yeah.
All right. The Buffalo Bills play this weekend. For the first time in a couple months, they play a regular season football game. This one against the Pittsburgh Steelers at Highmark Stadium. When was the last time their season opener was their home opener?
I want to say that game against the Colts with Rex, but
was it that long ago?
I want to say it was. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
Tyrod Percy Harvin?
I think so.
Oh, that was a hell of a game. Hell of an era for Bills football.
I was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been electric, man.
That was
Percy Harvin. He was the savior. But yes, Bill's season opener is a home opener. Pittsburgh Steelers. I wouldn't call them the new look Steelers because they only just recently decided to have an offseason, I feel like. Their biggest offseason acquisition is Najee Harris, the Alabama running back that they selected in the first round. We'll get into him. We'll get into their defense. There's a TJ Watt situation going on that's a bit strange. We'll get into that. We'll just, preview the entire game. But before we do that, Rob, what are just your overarching thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers before we get into the nitty-gritty here?
They're a strange team, like they finished 12-4 last year. They have the future Hall of Fame quarterback, but everything's gonna ride on Ben Roethlisberger's arm. And I think that we're gonna see something like we saw with Drew Brees last year, where he maybe starts strong, but I think he's gonna fade. I mean, he's 39 years old. We saw him decline a little bit last year. And it's so strange because they have such a talented cast of players on offense. And they have one of the best defensive players in the league in TJ Watt, if not the best. But their defensive line is their strength. And then behind that, they don't really have anything. So I think they're a really top-heavy team. And everything's going to ride on Ben Roethlisberger, which I think is kind of a bad way to enter the season.
So you don't seem very high on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, I mean, Roethlisberger is Roethlisberger. I think he's going to get you wins just based on him. But at the end of the day, like, I don't think that deep ball's going to be there. I don't think he's moving around and shaking sacks like he was. I mean, at 39 years old, it's tough to really play that style of football. But they have some really good receivers, an exciting beast of a young running back. So they match up well at a lot of spots offensively, but defensively, I think that Josh Allen is going to be able to just sit back and pick them apart, especially if the TJ Watt situation kind of lingers over. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
Right. You brought up Najee Harris there. That's who I want to focus on first. You said that Big Ben kind of was, the cracks were starting to show last year. And that's because, largely to me at least, is they had no running game. Mm-hmm. They were last in the league by a wide margin, worse than the Houston Texans. That's saying something. If you're worse than the Houston Texans in anything, you're not doing very well. But yes, last in the league last year by a considerable margin. So they addressed that by bringing in Najee Harris. Again, probably the best running back in the draft, either him or ETN. Some people had Javonte Williams, but I think Najee Harris pretty unanimously was the number one running back. Can do a little bit of everything, pretty well. So do you think that A, their running game is going to bounce back this year with Najee Harris, and B, is this the thing? Like, with Bills fans, they're always concerned about the running back going off. Like, do Bills fans, should they be concerned about Najee Harris going off this week?
Absolutely. The Bills, we obviously all think that they improved their run defense this season with Starr coming back, fully healthy Tremaine Edmonds, all the additions on the defensive line. But then, like we talked about last week against the Packers, with Kylan Hill and A.J. Dillon kind of running, getting 6-7 yards a pop. It was, obviously it's the preseason, and we always say to take it with a grain of salt, but you would have liked to see the Bills starters play a little better against the Packers second and third string. And Najee Harris is just is a beast. 3,800 yards rushing and 43 touchdowns on the ground at Alabama, another almost 800 receiving yards. He is a monster, and he can do it all. He's a big guy. He's like 6'1", 230. He's fast. He can catch the ball. Yeah, he hurdles. He jukes. He's a threat in the passing game. And he's a player that I think the Bills are going to have to focus on almost every down, because the Steelers want to run the football. That's been an emphasis all offseason for them after having James Conner and Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland carrying that offense last year. It's rough. And I think Harris, the offense is going to run through Harris. Now, the only benefit to Buffalo is that offensive line that he's going to be running behind. They have a fourth-round left tackle, a rookie, a third-round rookie at center. Those are two key positions. And you have an aging Trey Turner at right guard, Okorafor, I don't even want to try to pronounce his first name, at right tackle, and a second-year left guard in Kevin Dotson. Obviously, some of those guys are promising. I like Dotson. I liked Green coming out, but you don't really want to have that type of situation where you have three young players on the left side of your offensive line going into week one. So I think this is an opportunity for the Bills to kind of get their ducks in an order in terms of fitting the run and really holding their gaps and making plays and trying to shut Najee Harris down.
Cosign. Like, I am a bit concerned, to be honest, just because we saw how middling the run defense was last year, and their answer is Starr's back. I hope that's enough, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And Najee Harris, as you said, very good player. But it's with that offensive line, you just don't really know. I don't think Big Ben's going to have a lot of time to throw, but it is their rushing attack behind Najee Harris that is giving me a little concern here. And I also like their receiving core. I like Chase Claypool. I like Juju Smith-Schuster. And I, to an extent, like Deontay Johnson. They also have old friend Ray McLeod, maybe the best of the bunch. I don't know. People are talking. But, I like their receiving core. I just don't know how much Big Ben's going to be able to do. I don't know. So I think, as you said, they are going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to establish the run. If they are going to win this game, it's going to be because Najee Harris plays really well. It's going to be because Najee Harris has this insane 120-yard, 2-touchdown game, and he's all over NFL Network and ESPN. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. I want to talk about their defense, not about TJ Watt for now. I want to talk about Tyson Alualu because him being good is the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that's just hung around forever, and he's just like, you think of him as a cast-off. I mean, he was a first-round draft pick back in like 2010 to Jacksonville, and that was kind of like the pick that year that everyone was like, who? And he's lingered around as like a good but not great player, and now he's kind of, it's kind of weird for someone to be coming into their own in like their 10th or 11th year in the NFL, but that's what he's done.
Yeah, it's quite funny. He was always just the guy that I cut on Madden when I was like building the Jaguars. Now he's like a formidable run defender and like, you know, kind of, it's just funny that he's good. But we do need to talk about TJ Watt. As you said, one of the better defensive players in the league, if not the best defensive player in the league, in a bit of a contract dispute. Wasn't at practice today. I don't think he's been at practice recently. And there are rumors, people are talking, this could linger into week 1. Will it? I don't think so. But I mean, it's not bad that he's missing these practices in the lead up to week 1. Not bad for Buffalo, at least.
Right. It's a strange situation. And I think both sides know that a deal is going to get done. I mean, you don't let TJ Watt hold out into the regular season. Like, you just don't. Like the Steelers, the whole thing seems to be about guaranteed money, and they don't want to give guarantees past the first year, which they just need to get with the times. I mean, TJ Watt is a dominant player. This guy had 23 tackles for loss last year, 15 sacks, 40 quarterback hits, and he does this like consistently. But the contract is an issue because the Steelers only have like $10 million in cap space right now. And you know that Watt wants to be the highest paid defensive lineman in the NFL. And right now that's Joey Bosa at $135 million with $78 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money. And I don't know, the Steelers are always one of those like traditional franchises that builds through the draft and will let guys go. But they just let Bud Dupree go in free agency to sign a big contract. So if they don't resolve this with TJ Watt, this could be one of the ultimate blunders of the modern NFL. They have Alex Highsmith opposite him, who's, I think, a second-year guy. But Watt is a guy that you give him what he wants at this point, I think.
Yeah, you pay Watt.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it will stretch over into week 1. Like you said, it'll get done. I mean, TJ Watt knows he's going to get paid, and Pittsburgh knows they have to pay TJ Watt. And if they don't, Buffalo will. 31 other NFL teams will pay TJ Watt. But yeah, that'll get done. Looking at the rest of their defense, Minkah Fitzpatrick's a very fun player. Devin White is a fun player. Devin Bush. Devin Bush. I always get them confused.
Yeah.
I said it, then I was like, that's the wrong one. Devin Bush is a fun player. Terrell Edmunds, the best Edmunds?
Some Bills fans might think so.
Some Bills fans might think so. Matthew Harmon writes in chat, Watt won't be suiting up week 1. Whoa. That's a hot take. He just did my hot take there. I'm counting that one as my hot take. But hey, we'll see. If TJ Watt doesn't play, that's an infinitely better game or infinitely more easy game for Josh Allen and company. But look, all this being said, I like Pittsburgh. I don't think they're better than Cleveland. I think Cleveland might win that division. But I mean, I could see them as a wild card team. My dog's going crazy out there. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog barking.
Yeah.
If you can, I apologize. But yes, I think they're like a fringe wild card team. I could see them making the playoffs, but pound for pound, I think the Bills are the better team.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And like I said, Pittsburgh's one of those weird teams this year where like I could see them either going 11-5 or 11-6. We're in 17 games. I'm never going to get used to this. Or they can go like 6-11. I don't know. I think they have the talent at some key spots, but there's also weak at some other key spots like corner and offensive line and big positions. So I don't know. I think week 1 will say a lot about their trajectory of how their season's going to go. Whereas the Bills are a team where you kind of know that they're going to contend.
I don't think Mike Tomlin has ever gone under 500. I think I heard that stat.
Really?
If so, that's nuts. He's been coaching for how long, and he's never been under 500?
Yeah, that's wild.
I mean, it's probably wrong, but If it's a real stat, that's a crazy stat. But again, I think we'll wrap up the preview. Or before we do that, is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you want to touch on with the Steelers?
So I think we did cover everything, but I am a little bit concerned also about their tight ends. I know we talked a little bit about the receivers. We all know about Juju and Deontay and Claypool, but tight ends were a huge issue for the Bills. They gave up the most catches to the position with 92, the second most yards with 993, and then we're in the middle of the pack at touchdowns with 8. And their defense kind of funnels things inside, so tight ends are going to get the production there. But I think with the Steelers wanting to run the ball, we're going to see a lot more 2 tight end sets with Eric Ebron, who quietly had a decent year last year. And then their rookie, Pat Freiermuth, I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Great name.
Great name. But he's a big athletic guy too. And I think that he can present some problems. So I really want to see Tremaine Edmonds, Poyer, Hyde, and Milano step up against the tight ends this year, because like you said earlier about Star Latulele, the Bills kind of just said, oh, Star's back, the run defense is going to be good. With the linebackers, we're saying, oh, Tremaine Edmonds is healthy, now he's going to be good. So there are no excuses for poor play, either defending the run or defending tight ends this year. And I'm excited to see how they fare on Sunday.
Comment here from Matthew Harmon. Watt played poorly against the Bills in December 2020. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember that game all that much.
That was a snow game, right?
I don't remember. I remember the 2019 game in Pittsburgh, and TJ Watt was just all over the place. He was just nuts. I think he punched Josh Allen in the chest at one point trying to go for the ball. Also, this is a great comment from Dad of a Bills fan. Weird given name, weird government name. Rumor says Kyle is in the roster bubble. That is true. No, your source is correct. Hey, Cover One, like Bean himself, always looking at other teams' 53s, always looking at their bottom of the roster, comparing it to their own bottom of the roster or other bottom of the roster. And, if they can improve at player 52 or 53, they're going to do it. So, I mean, I wouldn't judge them at all. But, okay, we'll put a bow on the game preview. Oh, Andy Larson writes, that was the game Diggs took over. Yes, that was the game where the offense was kind of stagnant in the first half, and then they were just like, okay, we're just going to hit Diggs 8 times to start the second half, and it worked. Okay, so we're going to put a bow on this segment, and it's going to nicely segue into our next segment, which is the record prediction. So, Rob, do you have the Bills winning or losing on Sunday?
I have them winning. I think the Steelers' offensive line is going to get exploited by the Bills' new look defensive line, and I think Josh Allen is going to be able to pick apart that secondary.
I also have them winning. So, hey, 1-0, which gets us right into the record prediction segment. So what Rob and I are going to do is preview week by week the Buffalo Bills 2021 season. We're going to, have a quick conversation on the team they're playing and just how the Bills match up as of right now. Again, a lot can change by the time these games actually happen, but as of right now, if we think the Bills will win or lose, and we're going to come to a unanimous decision on each game, and we're going to, at the end, give you the 100% accurate roster prediction. Not roster prediction. I'm having a stroke. Jesus Christ. 100% accurate record prediction. There we go. First try. All right. So, Rob, how many games what's your record?
I have them 14-3, but I could sway to 13-4.
All right, same. Good night, everyone. No.
Thank you for watching.
All right. Week 1, we have wins over Pittsburgh, 1-0. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to week 2. Pittsburgh's going to be a tough game, but we can have a conversation about Miami. Week 2, Miami at home. I was tempted to have them split with Miami, but given the circumstances in each game, this is a spoiler, I couldn't have them split with Miami. I think Miami's an improved team, and I think they're a good team. I think they were solid last year, and I think they're improved this year. But as of right now, I was never a big Tua guy. Still am not a big Tua guy. That last game of the season last year, that just sticks to me. With Dean Marlowe, 2 picks. Huge performance from Dean Marlowe. Got him that roster spot with the Lions that he subsequently lost. But Yeah, again, Miami could do some damage this year. I just don't know if it's going to be against the Bills. I just think the Bills are a better team. So week 2 in Buffalo, I have the Bills winning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Josh Allen and Sean McDermott seem to have Miami's number. I don't see it going any other way. I was thinking about splitting it, but just early in the season, I think they can take away a win from the Dolphins at home. And later in the season in Buffalo, I just don't think that it's going to happen with the Bills pushing for seeding and things like that. I just don't see Miami winning.
Are they home week 2 or away week 2?
They're away week 2.
Are we positive?
Yes.
Because then that changes everything for me. That changes it doesn't change anything. Okay, I misspoke. All right, so regardless, I have them winning in week 2 against the Miami Dolphins. All right, so then they're back home week 3. No, we're good.
Yeah.
We're week 3 home against the Washington football team, the best named team in the sport. Rob, how do you see this game going?
So I think a lot of people have this game as like an easy win. But they're a tough team. I do have them winning, but I don't think it's going to be easy at all. This is going to be one of those really low-scoring games. Washington's defense is just insane. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is good enough to make plays with those receiving core. Antonio Gibson at running back, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin. It's a good football team. But I do think they're just not there yet, and I think the Bills are going to win.
Yes, I 100% agree. Washington is a very interesting team to watch. A lot of young, fun defensive pieces. Montez Sweat, Chase Young. So Josh Allen's going to be running for his life probably, but he does that anyway, regardless of the defenders he's playing. But like you said, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, they're going to have a competent quarterback in Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know if they're the best team in that bad division, but they might be. They were last year. But Dallas might take a step forward. But Washington football team, it's no slouch. I think this will be a tough game. But again, as Dylan writes, don't forget Jarrett Patterson. Do we think Jarrett Patterson's getting time in the regular season?
He probably will a little bit.
They have J.D. McKissick too, right?
Yeah,
I have J.D.
touches.
I have him on one of my fantasy teams. So
yeah, he won my league for me last year. So
did he really?
He carried me.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Hey, I need some of that J.D. McKissick magic, but not in week 3 yet. Against the Washington football team. Again, it's going to be tough. All these games are going to be tough, but Washington football team, like you said, it's going to be grinded out, low scoring, but I do have, again, the Bills are just the better team. I think the Bills are going to beat the Washington football team.
I agree.
Moving on, week 4, home against the Houston Texans. This is my first loss on the year.
Tyrod Taylor revenge game.
Tyrod Taylor.
That's right.
Gotta get it right. Yes, the Tyrod Taylor revenge game coming back to Highmark Stadium, where he's technically never been, but coming back to Orchard Park to try to defeat the Buffalo Bills, to show them that, hey, I'm actually better than Josh Allen. Is he? I don't know, but he was named the starter of the Houston Texans today. That is a bad roster, Rob.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It is like expansion team worthy. Maybe their expansion team was better than this roster.
I saw a tweet that was like, this is the worst fantasy football roster ever. And if you look at it, it's hilarious. It's like Tyrod Taylor, Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, Brandon Cooks. Like, it's just an awful roster from top to bottom. I mean, they probably have like 3 quality players throughout the team, and
they also have Anthony Miller. They traded for Anthony Miller.
Yes,
who is my dude.
The breakout is coming any year now.
One of these years. Look, this is sad, but I have him on the watch list for both of my fantasy football teams.
You have to. I think everyone does.
It's not going to go anywhere ever, but if it ever does, Anthony Miller, hey, you heard it here first. If Memphis quarterback Riley Ferguson ever pops off, you heard it here first. But yes, they're a bad team. Look, but like I can't even say it has like the makings of a trap game, because I don't even think they're like that quality. No. It's not even like, stumble. Like
they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle to get a single win this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills could stumble and win by 30.
Yeah.
This is going to be a cold takes exposed.
Yeah.
this is not going to go. That tweet there, that clip's going to go semi-viral after the Texans just utterly defeat the Buffalo Bills. But I don't see that happening. So 4-0, we're unanimous to start the season here.
We sure are heading into the big stretch here.
Week 5 in Arrowhead Stadium. I think they changed the name of the stadium, didn't they? I think it's something at Arrowhead or something. I don't know. But they're in Kansas City, nevertheless, to play the Chiefs, the reigning AFC champions. Of course, they defeated the Buffalo Bills in the same stadium last January to advance to the Super Bowl. But have the Bills done enough in the offseason? Have the moves that they've made, which were made at least largely in part to defeat the Chiefs? You know, they were exposed in areas in that AFC championship, and they made moves to address those holes that were exposed. So will those moves pay off? I don't see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I have the Bills losing this game. They lost the last 2 games pretty handedly. And until I see it, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I think there's a chance that they could come away with a win, but playing at Arrowhead, against the Chiefs, the team that seems to have their number, I don't predict a win, and I'm going to get yelled at by the people in the chat. But right now, I got to see it to believe it.
All right, you just can't. I mean, you people cannot, in good faith, give the Bills a win over the Chiefs, because, like you said, the last 2 times they've played, the Chiefs have been the better team, quite obviously. The games haven't been particularly close. And I know, again, the Bills address those holes in the offseason. You can say, hey, Greg Rousseau and Boogie Basham and F.A. Obata are going to fix the pass rush, and Mahomes isn't going to have any time to throw, and there you have it. The game is won. But until we see that, you have to see it to believe it. As of right now, it's just projecting, which is exactly what I'm doing.
And then you look at the Chiefs' offensive line. It's not as bad as it was last year either.
Right.
So
I was just going to say, you're just projecting, which is exactly what I'm doing. I'm projecting a loss. But like you can't say, again, until you see them play, until you see if that pass rush is fixed, you can't say, oh, yeah, they're better than the Chiefs now. I think it's close on paper, but we'll just have to – I can't say they're going to beat the Chiefs. But I can say in week 6 in Tennessee, they're going to beat the Titans.
I agree.
I thought we were going to have a few debates. When I said we have to come to unanimous outcomes, I thought that was us, I thought we were going to have debates, but no, as of right now, we have them at what? That'd be 5-1 in week 6.
Yeah, going into the bye.
Look, again, I've said it on the show how many times. I'm an idiot. I still don't believe in the Tennessee Titans. I still think the Tennessee Titans are kind of frauds. I'm probably wrong. I've been proven that I'm wrong time and time again. They killed the Bills last year. Again, I know I'm wrong. I'm just not particularly scared of the Titans.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think Ryan Tannehill kind of comes back to earth a little bit and finds a happy medium between what he did last year and what he was with the Miami Dolphins. I don't think that Ryan Tannehill we saw last year is what he really is.
Yeah, I could see this being a loss for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If Derrick Henry runs all over them, if the run defense again is middling and Derrick Henry Stars back. There we go. But yeah, Derrick Henry could potentially run over again. He could just run over this team. But at what point do we start thinking Derrick Henry's going to fall off? He hasn't shown any indication of it, but at what point do we start fearing oh, he's 28, but he probably has a 38-year-old's knees just with how much he's been used.
Right. Yeah, they have some good players, but again, the depth on that team is just not there.
Actually, now that I'm changing, I'm overthinking. Derrick Henry could hypothetically just have a game. Can they match up against AJ Brown and Julio Jones?
We'll see.
Well, that's what
can Caleb Farley and whoever match up against Diggs and Sanders and Beasley and Davis and Kumaro.
No, that's a good point.
It's a good matchup, but I think the Bills are a better team. Yeah.
Does Julio still have it in your opinion?
I think he's got some left.
Was I dumb to draft Julio in my fantasy draft today?
I have him in a couple.
There you go.
You can
But
never sleep on Julio.
you just can't, right? Because what if he's Julio?
He's Julio. Yeah,
Exactly. You can't make that mistake. But yes, it'll be a good game. I could see this being a loss, but that'd be back to back against the Chiefs and Titans again for the second year in a row.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's the tough stretch that really got them last year. But then they went on that run after. So
exactly.
I
Maybe
don't
they
know.
need.
I think the Titans is a very winnable game. I think the Chiefs is a winnable game, but I want to see this pass rush early in the season before I'm ready to give it over the Chiefs.
Maybe they need to lose to the Titans. Maybe they just take one for the team and lose, go into the bye with a loss again, and then just win out.
Maybe.
All right. So as we said, week 7, the bye week, we have them at 5-1 at the bye, and then they come out they're home for this one.
Yeah.
Home against Miami. Okay. There we go. Yes, I figured it out. Everyone, don't worry. My brain figured it out. Week 8, home against the Miami Dolphins. As I said earlier, I wanted to do a split with the Dolphins, but I don't see them losing week 2 in Miami. I certainly don't see them losing this game week 8, just given everything. Like right. Josh Allen, as we said, kind of does really well against the Dolphins, kind of has their number. Sean McDermott is undefeated out of the bye in the 4 or 5 years he's been here. Mm-hmm. Never lost out of the bye week. And I can't see them losing this game out of the bye at home against a division team. Sean McDermott's going to have them ready to go. And again, it would be irresponsible of me to give them a loss at this point.
Right. Totally agree. Bills win.
Bills win. That is 6-1. And now, again, another tough matchup. Week 9, they travel down to Duval, as I said, best fans in the league, and they are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Will Urban Meyer be coaching the Jaguars at this point?
Yeah, he'll be there.
If they're 1-7,
I don't think they get rid of him that fast, though.
Oh, he might quit, though.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
he might say, "I'm out."
Health issues might pop up.
Right. But look, again, I like the Jaguars. I lied. I like a few players on the Jaguars. Yeah. Like it's hard to not be interested in Trevor Lawrence, at least whether you like him or not. It's hard to not be intrigued by what he's going to do. I love Laviska Shenault, big Laviska Shenault guy. DJ Shark, he's still there, right?
Yep.
Good player. I was really interested in Travis Etienne, but unfortunately he will not be playing. James Robinson, one of the better stories in the entire league last year. They have a few interesting pieces, but they're akin to the Washington football team. Washington football team's obviously much better than Jacksonville, but they're akin to Washington in that, like, they have a few fun pieces. This isn't the year for Jacksonville. I don't think so. I think they're not going to be a very good team.
Yeah, no, they're going to be a bad team. It's another thing. Like I said about the Titans, they're nowhere near the Titans yet, but they just don't have depth anywhere. They have like fun pieces to play like Madden with and everything right now, but right. I don't think like the offensive line or the defensive line is there where they can really compete with a team like the Bills.
Exactly. No, I have them as a win, obviously. We have a comment here. Best fans in the league. It's Bills fans. Best in the NFL, no doubt. Jacksonville crazy. Hey, when Bills fans yell Erie, you let me know, okay? And then we can have the best fan in the league conversation. Best fans in the league conversations. But again, I wrote down here, I could see Jacksonville being one of two things. Either a complete train wreck or like bad. Just like not fun. Like a not fun bad. Either way, they're not beating the Bills. So moving on, week 10, they travel to New Jersey, MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Jets. Loss?
No, the Jets are another team. A lot of fun pieces. I think they're in a better spot than the Jaguars are. But no, the Jets aren't there yet. I think next year and the year before, I really like Zach Wilson. I think he's going to be fun and give a lot of fun games. But again, like just the defensive line's not there. The secondary's awful. Their offensive line is getting better, though. I like the pieces they have there. But again,
Elijah Vera-Tucker, right?
Vera-Tucker, Morgan Moses. Losing Carl Lawson is huge, but I think the Bills can handle the Jets.
But they replaced him with the superior Shaq Lawson. Shaq Lawson? I mean, Come on. I'm seeing people saying Shaq Lawson's a competent pass rusher. I didn't see it, but
Yeah.
I have a really funny Shaq Lawson story, but I cannot share it. I cannot share it on air. I shouldn't have said that. But all right, moving on, right, to week 11.
Yep.
Indianapolis Colts. Okay, look, the Bills are just a good team. So like every conversation is like, yes, these teams are good. These teams are fun. These teams have interesting pieces, but the Bills are just a good team. Like,
Right.
part of me wishes the Bills sucked. Part of me wishes we were doing this in 2018 and we were just like, oh, they're getting blown out here. They need Percy Harvin back. What are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, the Colts to me are like the Titans are to you. Like, they just don't scare me at all. They didn't scare me last year. Like, they played perfectly. Like, they couldn't have had a better game against Buffalo in the wild card, and the Bills still beat them. And now when you downgrade at quarterback, I think to Wentz, it's not them. That's not it for them.
Downgrade at quarterback from Phillip Rivers?
I think Rivers was solid last year, and
he was competent.
And I don't think Wentz is that great of a quarterback. And I know reuniting with the coach and everything, but it's not. I don't know. They just don't scare me. They have great players at key spots, but again, they don't have like the skill position. Like Pittman's all right. Mm-hmm. They don't have anyone other than him. Jonathan Taylor's right. Jonathan Taylor's great. The offensive line's great, but I don't know. They just don't have like defensively outside of Darius Leonard and Buckner. I don't think there's much there.
I'm kind of buying into the Carson Wentz hype.
Are you?
I could be an idiot, a well-documented idiot, but with Carson Wentz, I am kind of buying into the hype. I like the storyline. He was very good a couple of years ago under Frank Reich, and now Frank Reich gets him back. But I mean, Carson Wentz is a different player now than he was a couple of years ago. So again, I think it'd be fun to see Carson Wentz bounce back. I don't think we're going to see that MVP caliber player that we saw a couple of years ago, but also I think he's going to be a competent quarterback. I think the Colts are going to be a fine to good team, but a fine to good team on paper, I don't think beats the Bills. So
agreed.
That's a dub. All right. Here, I believe, is our first disagreement, but we have to work through this in our relationship. Week 12 at New Orleans on Thanksgiving, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
In the Caesars Superdome. Well, you can talk me out of this, but I initially have it down as a loss.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me too. I kind of spent a couple of minutes thinking this one over. But again, I think the Bills are the better team. Jameis Winston at quarterback. The receivers are a big question mark. Michael Thomas will probably be back by then, but still, Marquez Callaway is a nice breakout potential player, but what has he done to his past to justify that? Not much. Kamara's a stud, we all know. But that offense is going to be in the hands of Jameis Winston, and that's concerning. I mean, he's really promising. I really like that. He kind of took a back seat last year to learn under Sean Payton. And a lot of people are going to talk about those 30 interceptions and everything. I don't think that's who he is, but I think that he's still reckless. And I think the Bills will be able to get some turnovers off him and win on Thanksgiving.
He couldn't see. He got a
LASIK
eye surgery. He can see now.
And those crazy warm-ups too.
Right.
So I don't know.
He could be the greatest quarterback of all time now that he can see.
He might. Just hopefully not on Thanksgiving.
That all makes sense, right? But a part of me thinks there's just this insane Jameis breakout coming this year. I don't know why. I can't justify it besides the LASIK eye surgery. And I was listening to a podcast, The Tuck Rule, with Victoria Saley. Incredible podcast. Go listen to it. But they had Steven Ruiz on this week. And Steven Ruiz brought up from The Ringer, he said that New Orleans utilized a lot of play action last year. And with Jameis, if they utilize play action again this year, that's going to give him more time to more time to read the field. And, hypothetically, will give him more time to make less mistakes, if that makes sense. That was a weird way of going around it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Hypothetically, play action will allow Jameis to read the field better and make fewer mistakes. Plus, he can see. Again, we are not making a big enough point. He couldn't see, and he threw 30 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's huge. That's crazy. And now, I mean, what is he going to do when he can see 60?
Yeah, I don't know about all that. Jameis, like he's another one. Like even at his best in Tampa, it wasn't outstanding. Like he had some monster games, but he's a quarterback that's always going to throw the picks. I think that's just part of who he is. I think he's going to give you a lot of touchdowns, but he's going to give you a lot of interceptions also. And I think against a team like the Bills that's so like disciplined and so solid in their back seven, and they're capable of forcing a lot of turnovers, I think they'll be all right.
Lone Wolf with the comment of the night so far. He wasn't colorblind. It's a very good comment. Okay, it has to be unanimous. I will say about 50% of the reason why I gave them the loss to the Saints is because I can't see them only losing 3 games again. That's just too much.
I was thinking the same thing, but then looking through this, I can kind of talk myself into them going 17-0. So I had to give them the losses where I thought they would be at the biggest disadvantage.
Again, as we were talking about, when the team is this good, every game's a winnable game.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going win against the Saints in New Orleans on Thanksgiving?
I am.
They might just be the better team. They might just come down to Buffalo's the better team. Rob, you've swayed me. I'm going win on Thanksgiving, and then they come home week 13 against the Patriots. The Mac Jones-led New England Patriots, hypothetically, unless they bring Cam Newton back, which would be fun. But no. I think Bills fans were spoiled last year. They went undefeated in the division, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will say I don't think they're going undefeated in the division this year,
No.
but I do have them winning this game at home against the Patriots.
Yeah, I do too. I think at home, Monday night, the crowd's going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Mac Jones will be completely ready for that type of noise, and the Bills win. But the Patriots are a good team. I think Bills fans do not give them enough credit. They say, oh, Brady's gone, this team is trash. No, I've seen a lot of that talk on Twitter, and that's not the case. They've got a good defense. They really loaded up in free agency. And this is one of the teams where, like, you talk about nobody wins free agency when you make all those moves, but they got some good players. And with Bill Belichick, you can never rule them out. I mean, getting Johnny Smith and Hunter Henry, the receivers, Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, Matt Judon, all these are good, solid players, and you know that Belichick has a plan for everything that he wants to do with these guys. So I don't think you can gloss over New England this year.
Yes, I think the Patriots are a very good team that can give the Bills a run for their money. Spoiler alert. So moving on, week 14, they go down to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady for the first time in a couple of years. They're going to take on Tom Brady. So, again, the Bucs are just a really good team. Yeah. This is probably their toughest test since, well, it is objectively their toughest test since week 5 against the Chiefs, on paper at least. It's tough, but I got to give it to Tampa.
Yeah.
Just have to give it to Tampa. I mean, I can't count Tom Brady out. Love their offense. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I drafted Chris Godwin in a fantasy league today and a dynasty league. So part of me hopes Chris Godwin kind of goes off. But week 14, that won't be playoffs by then. But so, yeah, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski. Is he going to be good this year? Are they going to use him like Rob Gronkowski this year?
Yeah, I don't know about Gronk's production this season, but when you look at the Bucs, like they're so loaded, and they're a team like the Bills too, like stud receivers, deep defensive line. Now, obviously theirs is proven, and the Bills is really not. Solid linebackers, but I think the Bucs are better. Good secondary. I think they're both very similar. Quarterbacks, obviously Tom Brady is Tom Brady, and then the running game, those two guys are somewhat proven. They really turned it on in the playoffs with Fournette and Ronald Jones. But yeah, I think this is tough, and playing in Tampa and another primetime game, I think it's tough. I think the Bills are going to lose this one.
Yes. Devin White, that's the right Devin, correct?
Yeah.
Defensively had a crazy playoffs last year. We'll see if he carries that over into the regular season. But yeah, just a loaded team, as you said. We got the chat going crazy here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not a primetime game though. 4:25 kickoff, but still give it to Tampa.
Still got to give it to Tampa.
Yeah,
they're just. We got the chat going crazy, saying Bills are going to beat Tampa. It could happen. Tampa.
This is another one I could talk myself into, but like right now, I got to see a lot of things in the regular season against Pittsburgh, against Miami before I'm ready to say this team can beat the Bucs and the Chiefs, the two Super Bowl contenders.
Right, which is why us talking about what's going to happen in November on September 6th, kind of silly, but here we are. Loss against Tampa Bay. Moving on, week 15, they play another NFC South opponent. That's NFC South, right? Yes. The Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers, very fun team, young team, a lot of pieces. Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson, what's that bear doing? One of the greatest quotes of all time. Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Oh my God, Rob. It's a video of Robbie Anderson sitting on the bench next to Curtis Samuel, looking at the Panthers mascot, what would you guess the Panthers mascot is?
The Panther.
Yes. But Robbie Anderson sitting on the bench, looks at the mascot, leans over to Curtis Samuel and asks, "What's that bear doing?" It's my favorite video of all time. But defensively, they have Jeremy Chid, who had a nice year, very fun player.
Brian Burns,
your guy.
stud.
You're a huge Brian Burns guy. I always have been. But again, fun team. Bright future. Not beating the Bills.
Nope.
Just not going to happen. I haven't seen really anything, let alone enough out of Sam Darnold to believe that he is, a franchise quarterback or a competent starting quarterback in this league. So, yes, I don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be starting week 15, but regardless of who they have at quarterback, I think the Bills are going to win.
Yeah, I agree.
Week 16, this for me is the last loss of the season because they're going to win the Super Bowl. So this is their last loss until the next year. But at New England, I have them splitting the season series and losing the away game to New England.
I do too, for all the reasons I said before, but they're in Foxborough, and I also think that the Bills just are going to have one letdown game randomly, and I think the Patriots are just – it has to be the Patriots.
Right. And it would just be too good to be true.
Right.
It'd be too good to be true to sweep them 2 years in a row. We just can't have that. Not yet. But then, as I said, close out two not easy opponents, but, you could have harder games to close out the year. Atlanta, week 17, at home. That's a home game, I do believe.
Yeah.
Yes, Arthur Smith is the new guy there. Matt Ryan is still a quarterback. He's still a fun quarterback. But I don't know if fun's the word, but he's still a quarterback. But Kyle Pitts might go for 500 in this game, hypothetically. That still might not be enough, though.
Yeah, no, they have another team with a lot of fun pieces, but just no defense at all. So that's a win for Buffalo.
Yes, there's people in the chat saying we need to respect the Bills' defense. And I thought I was being respectful. Then I said Kyle Pitts is going to put up 500 on him. So maybe I wasn't. Then they close out against the Jets. This could be a loss just because they're pretty much going to have everything wrapped up, I think, by the final week of the season. So they might not play anyone of note. So they could lose by default. But I have
you're saying Zach Wilson beats Mitchell Trubisky in week 17?
Look, I know that's a controversial take, but it could happen.
Wow.
It could happen. Zach Wilson might be pound for pound. No, I'm not even going to say it. I can't say he's better than the MVP. I can't do it. But I'm gonna put it as a win for now.
I agree. So 14-3.
We have Matthew Harmon way underestimating our defense. Why? Because I said Kyle Pitts is going to put up 500 yards individually? That's not – I think you're underestimating Kyle Pitts, sir. Kyle Pitts, an elite player, decent first name. All right, so Rob, we have the Bills going 14-3. This would be their first 14-win season, maybe ever?
I'd have to look. I don't know. But yeah, I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. We all know that. I think in a 17-game season, it's a little more difficult. I think injuries could pop up, things like that. I'm not going to get into like predicting injuries, but I just think the two toughest games in their schedule are the Chiefs and the Bucs. And I do think the Bills go to the Super Bowl this year. I will predict that. I think the Bills will host the Chiefs and beat them in a playoff game. And that will get the monkey off the back and go on to probably win a Super Bowl. I think they're that good this year. But I think in the regular season, those are the games they're going to lose.
I don't know if I can say Super Bowl. I just don't know if I can. Like, I'm reading all this stuff from national people saying like, oh, yeah,
so weird.
Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know. Again, I was the guy 2 years ago who was like, oh, Bills are going 10-6 and making the playoffs. Everyone was like, you're crazy. You're a homer. Now it's opposite. Bills are winning the Super Bowl. I don't know. But I would, again, that'd be great to see. I've only seen 2 playoff wins this year. So I think that wraps up our regular season prediction. Okay. So is there hot takes? We have hot takes to get to. I protested last week.
You did, so you better bring the heat.
I didn't, though. I did not bring a great hot take this week, so I will defer to you, Rob. What is your hot take for the Bills' Week 1 matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
So I don't know how hot this is, but I think the Bills pick off Ben Roethlisberger 3 times, and they win pretty handily on Sunday. I think that the Bills' pass rush is going to be able to beat that offensive line. I think F.A. Obata and Rousseau and Edmonds are going to be able to get their long arms up, maybe bat some passes in the air, and ultimately the Bills are going to be able to pick them off 3 times, get the turnovers, and win the game.
So that is a hot take. My hot take, the people are going to come at me, Rob. The people are going to be in the comments saying, what is with these lukewarm takes? My hot take is that Greg Rousseau gets not 1, not 2, but 1.5 sacks against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he's going to get like 1 cleanup sack because he has to in the first quarter to fit the narrative. And people are going to be like, oh, he's just getting cleanup sacks. What did we say? Which is going to be fun. But he's going to have a nice cleanup sack in the first quarter. And then he's going to combine with – who should he combine with? We'll go F.A. Obata on a 3rd and long turbo package, NASCAR package, whatever, Ferrari package, whatever you want to call it. He and F.A. Obata are going to combine for a sack. And Greg Rousseau is leaving the game with 1.5 sacks. Not going to be leading the league yet, but he'll get there. So, yeah, that wraps up this Week 1 and regular season preview, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure – yeah, we're wrapping up here. So make sure to follow Cover One on Twitter at Cover One. Make sure to follow all of us on Twitter. We all write decent stuff. Make sure to check out Underdog Fantasy. Again, use promo code Cover One. Make sure to watch us every week on Monday at 9 p.m. Again, we'll be live next week to review that Bills versus Steelers Week 1 win, hot take, and also preview Week 2 versus the Dolphins. Please, if you would like to consider leaving a review on iTunes, that would help us dearly. And also, it's nice to see 5-star reviews, or be honest, don't give us a 5-star review if you don't like the show. But I think that's pretty much it for the tags. Rob, anything else to say, or where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at RobQuinn619. Definitely check out Cover One. We've got a lot of good stuff coming this season. Definitely check out our premium subscriptions if you're so inclined. Tomorrow I got an article looking at the biggest storylines to watch in this week's game. I'm sure Kyle has some stuff cooking up as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Just make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
All that good stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Kyle Silagyi. I had to read my name to make sure I knew what it was. But yes. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.